This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social, and I'm delighted to be joined by trainer and manager Jon Pegg. Jon, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Andy. How's things?
Everything's all good with me. It's good, obviously great to hear that you're doing well. First and foremost, thanks once again for allowing me to come down today, catch up with yourself and Sam Eggington. How's things been looking with Sam back in camp now?
To be fair, he hasn't been out of camp. We had a good long chat with Barry Hearn, who knows what's what. If you have a chat with Barry and you don't listen, you might as well just forget things because he tells you what's right. It's as simple as that. And we had a good long chat and Barry says, look, he says, Sam's 25. He says, but every fight he's had for the last 3.5, 4 years has been a genuine, career ender on TV. He says, get him away from TV, get him 4 or 5 fights, feeling comfortable, practising things. Because it's really hard to practice things when you're fighting in a 50-50 or a 40-60. You've got to literally just fight with everything you've got. You can't practice the skills you've been learning. So that's what we did the other week. He boxed at the Villa and he boxed nicely. And Kerry Kay said after the 3rd round, he says, I've never seen Sam box like this before. I says, because he's usually boxing at a really high championship level where he hasn't got the chance to box like this. So we've got another one in August, one in September, one in November. And then hopefully by the start of 2020, Sam will have a nice little string of runs. He'll practice where he wants to be. He'll be feeling confident and good in himself, away from all the pressure of TV and social media. And he'll be ready to, at 26 years old, which sounds crazy because most people aren't even ready for the first title at that age, he'll be ready for another phase and know where he's going.
What is the plan with Sam? You've just mentioned he was back out at Villa Park recently, just a matter of a couple of weeks ago. What is the plan long term then, having heard that?
The plan is long term, just get him active, because that's when he's at his best. It sounds crazy, but Sam's been fighting title fights since he was 19, and that creates a gap. You know, because of title fight, you can't box too often, even though he's boxed very often. And it's hard to learn, and what Sam needs is he's learning. He needs to learn because he was, not a celebrated amateur. He's been doing his learning on the job, but he's been doing it in top fights where you can't afford any slip-ups, and when he does make a slip-up, it's kind of right in the public eye, and you know what people are like. You win one week, you're the best boxer ever. You lose the week after, you're the worst boxer ever. Look at Purewal. You know, doing everything right, doing everything correct. He has a loss, and everyone's like, "Oh, he was hyped. He was a hype job." Yeah, you win Olympic medals and British and Euro and world titles, and by being a hype job. But that's what it's like in the public eye, and that's why Barry says take Sam away from it, allow him to just develop, because people forget he's still developing. Most people at 25 are classed as prospects. Most people at 25 are classed as like a work in the making. Sam was like a British Commonwealth European champion who was classed as the finished article, and he wasn't even a celebrated amateur. He was having to learn loads, and we want to learn loads away from the camera. We want to, now we've got the chance, let's take the time. When he had titles and kept winning big fights, it was kind of put on him, you've got to take this fight, you've got to keep moving forward. I'm quite happy to say, right, let's just take 6 months, 12 months away from the camera, develop skills that we know are developing but not ready to be used at top level, and work our way forward.
Sam's someone who he tends to always find himself in a war in the ring, something that everybody's become to know him for. Is that something that you guys are working on to get away from, maybe working on his defence more so? I know he likes to drop his hands a lot during the fights just to test the power of the opponent. Not necessarily something I would advise anyone to do, I'm sure you don't either. Yeah, but it's something that he's become known for. Is that maybe something that Barry said to him that you need to stop doing and you need to start working on if you want to progress? Well,
again, taking his time to learn things is, like I say, from the age of 19, he's been boxing away in title fights, in hard title fights. One thing Sam can do very naturally is have a fight. So when he's kind of streets behind someone in terms of experience and age and maturity on fight-wise, what he does, he turns it into a fight because he's got a chance there. Like if he tries to have a boxing match with someone, as he found with Bradley Ski, he tried to learn some new skills, and there was way behind. These guys have been boxing for England and boxing 10 years longer than Sam. So what he'd do is, right, I'll turn it into a mad scrap. And with a good chin and a heavy hands, I've got a chance in a scrap. What we want to do is take the time to develop the stuff he didn't have a chance to develop because he was in 10-round title fights at 19. Who else does that? You know, people who do that are the people who have had stacks of amateurs, so they're already developed. Sam wasn't. So what he would do to entice him in, drop his hands, turn it into a fight, make it a war, because in a war, anyone can win. If you've got two guys throwing bombs, it doesn't matter how skillful one of them is, you can land on the chin, you can beat them. If you've got two guys and one's way more experienced and very skillful, and you try and have him in a jabbing match and a skills match, there's only one winner. If you turn that same fight into a war, you might lose, but you might win. And a lot of the time, Sam had to do it through necessity, not because he liked to, but because he was way behind these guys in terms of experience. So he turned it into a war so he'd have a chance. But now we've got a chance to maybe... And Sam's got underrated boxing skills. Look at when he fought Glenn Foote, a former England international, and he boxed really nicely. When he fought Dale Evans, after the knockdown, he actually boxed because he had a short, stocky guy who was a similar age to Sam and similar experience, and he showed his boxing there. He won nearly every round apart from the knockdown. So he has got boxing skills, but a lot of the time he's boxing so far above his boxing level, it's either turn it into a mad war. You know, if he'd have tried to box Frankie Gavin or Paulie Malignaggi or the Spanish kid Rodriguez, he would have lost on points. Simple as that. He turned it into a mad, exciting war and got wins out of people he shouldn't have got wins out of by doing that. What we want to do now is add just some real basic rudimentary skills that he's never had a chance because of the level he's at. Because you can't practice basic skills against top-level guys. Now, if we can practice them against guys the level below, develop them to where they work, and combine that with his fitness, his determination, his chin and power, then you might see a Mark II Savage that's going to be something that you haven't seen before.
Now, those skills that you're working on, you mentioned you want to do them away from the cameras and the lights, and you're back on the small hall shows for a little bit. Yeah. At the same time, those skills that you learn, naturally the opponents you face on those shows aren't necessarily going to be as good as what you would face in front of the cameras. Will there be that worry that when he steps up again in front of the cameras that the skills he's learned against the, I don't really want to say lesser guys, but on those smaller shows,
they're a lower level.
Yeah, on a lower level, on the smaller shows, he won't necessarily be able to do against a better opposition in front of the cameras?
Maybe, but that's why they're learning fights, because that's where everyone practices. That's why people have 15 fights when they start off, even top Olympic guys, to practice and to learn and to develop it. Sam's never even had the chance to do that. So maybe they won't work, and we know we've always got a plan B with him, have a row, but until he really puts them in and is confident with them and actually practice, because he's never had the chance to, we won't know. Everybody else gets that chance to because they're not fighting for titles at 19. So they haven't just got to go with plan A. We want to give him the chance to develop the way everyone else has. And you can't do it on TV because it has to be good fights for TV. It has to be fairly exciting. The guys are going to be up for it no matter what. That's why everyone has learning fights and developing fights. That's why when someone has a loss for a world title, they come back and say, we're going to have a couple of fights where we're going to practice this. So they might not work, but we'll never know unless we give him the chance to develop them. And the way his career's gone, we haven't had much of a chance to do that. But the thing is now, we're going to turn the loss to Smith and the upset before that into a positive by breaking away from this spotlight and taking the time to develop with no pressure on him, if we can. I think he will, because like I say, when you see him against Glenn Foote, he showed the starts of them skills, but a lot of the time he had to fight for his life, so it was like back to what I do best. So he has got him in there against good level guys, but it's learning to develop them so they're just totally natural and you're totally confident in them.
This plan on fighting away from the cameras, how long do you think Sam can keep himself motivated for whilst doing it? Because he's had such a long career in front of him, he's had so many big fights. Will he maintain that same level of motivation throughout that period whilst he's learning his craft over again?
Do you know what? Sam's enjoying being in the gym constantly because he didn't enjoy having a few weeks off after a camp and then coming back. He's just got straight back in the gym on the Monday after fighting, and he enjoys fighting. Even though he doesn't enjoy training, and he's not a huge fan of boxing, so to speak, he enjoys the buzz of fighting. And motivating him ain't no problem because he knows that they've always been levels above him boxing-wise just because of experience and like age. And he's happy to kind of catch it up. You know, he's in here now. Yesterday, I had to do a first aid course with the boxing board, and we do a morning session on the Sunday. So I've done the first aid course, finished around 2 o'clock. 4:30, he rung me, he says, do you fancy meeting at the gym on a Sunday? And I was like, it's the day off. And he was like, yeah, but I want to do something. So he come in and done a full session. Sam's an odd one like that. He's not a lover of boxing, but he loves what he does. He's never found wanting on effort in any fight. From when he's fought 6-rounders at the last minute against the likes of William Warburton, he's always fully prepared, he's always ready to fight, and he enjoys fighting. So I ain't worried. And it's the route he's got to take. If he's not motivated for it, then he's not going to improve, and he's not going to take the step up a little bit past where he's been. He's already been to European, and if he wants to step past that, he's got to improve a little bit at least. And if he's not going to put that in, then he's not going to. So That's up to him. You know, I'm not in there getting punched, so I'll give him the right advice, but he's the one getting punched. So if he doesn't take the advice and do it right, which he always does, to be fair, so he might not be motivated, but he might get motivated when someone punches him in the face. So we'll see.
Now, you've obviously had time to reflect on that Liam Smith fight that you've just mentioned. What were your thoughts on it? Is that just a matter of Sam's found his level, he can't reach the heights of what Liam Smith has?
I'm not sure because, like I say, we weren't going in there with the highest of confidence because he'd had an upset loss before, and we weren't sure how he was feeling, but you can't turn him down. You're here to fight, and if he had kind of had enough of boxing, then he'd find out for a small payday. Might as well find out when you're not expected to win for a huge payday and see what you've got left. And he showed plenty left. You know, he showed, like, if that Sam had turned up for the Mackin-Wow fight, he would have won, without a doubt. If the Sam that turned up for that fight turned up for Liam, he probably would have lasted half a round. So, you know, the eye injury didn't help, and once that happened, I was going to get him out. But he was enjoying himself, he was having a good fight. He says, I was enjoying just having a fight with no pressure. So, who knows? And sometimes, European is your level. You know, if everyone retired who can't get past the European level, we'd have about 12 fighters left in the country. If that is his level, let's enjoy it. Let's have more fights at that level. Let's have plenty of big paydays. Let's win more titles around that level. If there's someone who's slightly above European who picks up a world title, then they're not too far ahead of us. Let's take a chance. But, like I say, if that's his level, we're not going to cry. We're not going to... You got to remember, when he started, everyone said Midland's title wasn't his level. Everyone, apart from me and a couple of people who thought I wasn't crazy, said he wouldn't win a Midlands title. And that's a fact. People know, and people who actually says I was so wrong. He's won British, Commonwealth, IBO, WBC, European. So if that's his level, we don't mind. But let's be the best he can be at any level he's going to be at, which means improving things while we've got the time. And if a chance comes, like I say, you can drag someone who's better than you into a war and you can get a result. Unfortunately, dragging Liam Smith into a war don't really get you a result because he's the same kind of guy. He's hard as nails. He can punch. He's been there. He's 30. He's a mature man. But what are you going to do? You're going to grab hold and get disqualified. You're going to bite him. You know, that happened on that bill. Someone stepped up a level and bit someone. Sam went out there, fought his heart out, didn't give an excuse, congratulated the guy when he won. That's what boxing's about. If it's his level, we don't mind because it's so many levels above. If it's not his level, he's 25. A lot of people at 25 lost fights or didn't do something that they achieved at 28, 29. The only way we can see is by trying to improve and pushing ourselves forward.
Now, on the other side of the coin, whether Sam loses or he wins, whenever I look over social media, a lot of people seem to get a sense of worry about him with regards to he takes a lot of punches, and people seem to start suggesting he seems a bit punch drunk, etc. Is that not a concern for you yourself now that maybe this is to continue? Maybe he does need to consider stepping away from the ring, or something needs to be done more so to protect him from taking so many punches? Again,
as we said this before, name me the times where he's took all these punches more than other people. And when we sat down and talked about it, you actually says, you're actually right. It's just that he takes like a burst that you see. When you look at people in fights, in proper fights, are you telling me Liam Smith didn't take more punches against Canelo and the Mexican kid than Sam's took in his last 5 or 6 fights? What do you think, Andy? Do you think Liam Smith took less fights than Sam in them 2 really tough fights than Sam's took in his last fight? There's a question for you. Do you think he did?
I wouldn't necessarily say that he didn't, but
so
I think...
Do you think Liam Smith has to retire?
No, but then that's again coming off to one fight off Canelo.
One fight is worse. Canelo and the Mexican, that's 17 rounds, and he took a lot of punishment. And then in his other fights, are you telling me Liam hasn't got a watertight defence? Look at the fights that he won against Liam, the Welsh kid. You know what I mean, anyway. Yeah, same here, but look at the fights, punishments he took there. It's part of boxing. A lot of people saying he's punched, you don't know him. You've spoke to Sam. Liam Williams, yeah. Now, what I'm saying is, this whole thing, it's a social media hype kind of thing. Oh, he's took a few punches. Look at people's careers. He's been dropped once. Frankie Gavin, who's a master boxer and a defensive genius, has been dropped 6 or 7 times. Who's took more punishments? When Sam fought Frankie, people are talking about the punishment he took, yet applauding Frankie. Who took more punishment in that fight? It's very easy. It's like the Emperor's New Clothes. Oh, he takes loads of punishment. Like I say, apart from the Liam Smith fight and the Mackin-Wayo fight, where, you know, Liam Smith, he wasn't down, he wasn't wobbled, he was just taking shots, he was having a fight. People forget Sam was landing punches. You know, people forget, look at when he fought Glenn Foot. Sam didn't take a single shot. Glenn Foot took a lot of shots that night. Nobody encouraged Glenn to retire, saying, oh, he's past it. It's just a social media thing that people who don't really know boxing are watching it and trying to sound like they know about it by saying this. I know when to advise lads to retire, because I have done. Lads who people are saying, why is he retired for? Because there's a time when they need to. Again, it's jumping on a thing. And when we spoke about it, I says, name me the fights where he's took all this punishment that you talk about, like his Arturo Gatti. He doesn't take that much. Frankie Gavin, he didn't take a lot. Bradley Skeet, he got outboxed in a lot of the rounds, but he didn't take any punishment. Glenn Foot, he didn't take any. Shane Singleton, he didn't take any. The African he won the Commonwealth off, didn't take any. He dropped his hands against Malagnaji for a 30-second spot in 8 rounds, and he took that bit of punishment. Apart from that little burst, where, you know, it's a fight, how many punches did he take in the Malagnaji fight? Rodriguez, he's an aggressive fighter. I think Rodriguez, by punch stats, landed about 50 at the end of the fight. That's 50 over 10 rounds. That's 5 punches a round. Do you consider that time to retire? 5 punches a round in a European title fight? Or do you think anybody who takes more than 5 punches a round in a European title fight is taking too many shots and should retire? Like I say, people are jumping on the back of things without looking at actual how it works. Someone gets stopped. Sam's had 2 bad fights. Mackin-Wayo was over in the second round before he was dropped. He took about 25 punches. Against Smith, he was exchanging, took enough punches that his eye was damaged, we got him out. Like I say, Liam Smith's at the top of his game. He took much more punishment against Canelo and Munaya. I don't see anyone calling for him to retire. It's just a thing where people want to sound like they're talking about something they know about, and they actually don't, sorry to say. But that's why we have to do the job and they don't. But it's just how it is. Like I say, when you look at it properly, apart from them 2 fights, and both times he wasn't off his feet and he was got out of there, when's he took this massive amount of punishment that the hype is?
So do you think it just comes back to when Sam is going into these fights, even with the likes of Frankie, Paulie, Liam Smith, etc., when they are going through those exchanges, people are just considering those exchanges more and just seeing Sam take the shots, and because of some of the past defeats and because they know what his style's like, they're kind of putting that pressure on him, or not necessarily pressure, but kind of getting that feeling and that thought that he should take a step back.
Did you ever watch Dennis Andrews fight? Boxed Tommy Hearns for the world light heavyweight title. I think when he won the title, his record was won something like lost 9, 120 odd. His style was to walk through people and soak it up. And he boxed till he was nearly 50. Now that was someone who actually made a living of walking through 12 and 15 round fights. This is what I'm saying. People have got no idea of history. This is how fighters are. You ever watch Chris Finnegan, Alan Minter, any of those guys? Watch their fights. They make Sam look like someone who hasn't took hardly any punches. That was just the norm. Look at Arturo Gatti. Yeah. His early career he's not the best defensively. So if you're not the best defensively, just retire. How many fighters, and what you got to remember, all the fights you're talking about, apart from 2 of them, for every punch he's taking, he's giving 2 or 3 back against guys who are better defensively than him. So, you know, it's his style. He tried to stand off and box against Skeet. It doesn't suit him. If he tries to stand off and box, he's Midlands area level. What does he do? You know what I mean? He's comfortable taking the punches like when he has to. Obviously, sometimes he's not because he's been stopped twice. But like I say, he's been down once in his career. You know. So, how much punishment? Like Liam Smith said it before. He says people like try and judge, oh, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. He says they don't realise the smarts that are in there. Because if you was taking all that, you wouldn't be fighting at a good level. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't get through them levels. If Sam was quite as defensively bad as people make out and taking these punishments he made out, you would not win a European. You would not win a British. You would not win a Commonwealth. People who are that bad defensively don't win them. You know, they just don't. You don't win a European title by being that poor defensively or being punch drunk. You just don't. Again, it's like people are like, it's easy to, you know, it's like the whole AJ thing. It's easy to say, oh, he's hyped, he's not very good. Look at facts. Don't look at one upset loss that has happened in the history of boxing to almost everyone. Look at the fact that he's won 20-odd fights against good level, top level fighters and won them well, won them on points, won them by knockout. Look at those facts before you say, oh, AJ's no good. Like I say, when you measure it up, he's took as much punishment as other people, probably less. I mean, Enzo Macronelli was still fighting for big titles. Are you telling me he didn't take a way more punishment than Sam before he even won his first big title? Of course he did. It's just fashionable to judge some people and not others.
Now, to move away from Sam and your passionate defence of him, obviously we mentioned some of the things that we spoke about last time we came. Another thing that we spoke about was the money involved in boxing and kind of, I don't know if corruption's the right word to use, but you gave me a bit more of an inside knowledge into some of the dealings that you've had during your career. Yeah. Do you want to just talk about some of those and the financial side in brokering deals and working with companies as a third party?
Yeah, people change the goalposts. It's as simple as that. An example, they're good guys and they're doing a good job, but Ultimate Boxer advertised 50 grand as prize money. Now, a lot of people thought the boxer was winning 50 grand, but we knew that wasn't right. That's just how it looked, and fair enough, you spin it that way. But then when we sat down and says, hang about, the prize money comes to 40 grand. Where's the other 10? You know, 16 the winner, 8 the runner-up, 2 4 grand the semi-finalists, 4 2 grand, it's 40 grand. You're advertising 50. The lads are going to think that the managers are skimming it off them. And it was kind of says, oh, well, we're going to do a knockout bonus like prize fight. I was like, okay then. Turns out my guy folds someone. Where's the knockout bonus? Oh, we're not doing it this time. Seriously? And then Shaq and Pitters went in, stopped someone. It was advertised as 50 again, but there's no knockout bonus. This time, the one Matt sends in, the last one I'm not sure how it works. I only ask questions from my own guys. The guys on the lower level have had their money upped, but it's still a little bit kind of sketchy about where's the other money. If you're advertising 50 grand, where is it? Is there a rule that you score a stoppage or you're the best boxer or the best win? We don't know. Just do something and nail it out. But they're good guys to work with, and I think it's just teething problems, to be honest. But that kind of thing happens. I had a lad in a British title fight, and he was doing kind of a bit purse, mostly ticket deal, because he knew he'd do good tickets. And 2 days before the fight, I spoke with the guy, and I says, right, he's done this much, so we're and this is fairly recently, a couple of years. He says he's expecting this much, and they went, oh, no, we've changed that now, he's not doing that. I was like, nobody's actually told me. Here's my text message, the last one I had a month ago, saying 50-50 on, and now you're doing 25-75. And they was like, oh yeah, I thought I'd says. I was like, you thought you'd said? I says, how do I explain to my lad he's getting 1,500 quid less? As it was, I took most of the hit because I was like, you know, I had it there and I thought, I don't want to push it, and you know, and that was with a TV promoter, you know. And that, I think it was kind of a mistake rather than corruption or what's it, but the mistake cost, it cost me more, because I wouldn't let the boxer get suffer. But it's always the boxer that it kind of runs down onto, and, you know, it just happens, it happens, but it's business. We're saying it like boxing. I think every business you look at, the stories of people cutting corners, people saving a bit of money. Just with boxing, you're getting punched in the head, it's a bit more personal. But it's not like it's a boxing thing, it's a business thing. People are in courts, there's people in courts far more than boxing, but you notice a bit more with boxing because it's a dangerous sport and you're getting punched in the head for your money. So,
of those couple of situations you've just touched upon, contractually, when you was finding out about the ways that the goalposts were being shifted, as you've worded it, how did you go about maybe trying to chase it up, trying to find out what the new situation was?
Well, the one where it was the British title fight, it was kind of like there was a mistake being made, and you know, neither of them was with the promoter. The fight might be off, so I had to swallow it. I had to swallow it, the boxer didn't. The other one, I chased it up, and it was kind of like, oh, well, your guys won anyway, so what does it matter? And I was like, well, it kind of does, and, you know, it's kind of a thing, and you want to build trust with your boxers and get them to box on shows. This is not the way to do it. But, like I say, they're good guys and they're learning, but I was kind of like, you know, and so I actually asked somebody else there on the first one, and this was quite funny. I said to Michael Marsden, Mike, have you heard about this? He went, oh, it's nothing to do with me. about 20 minutes later, his lad scored a knockout. He went, "Did you find out what happened with that knockout bonus?" And he was dead keen to work. And I was like, "Oh, now," and that's the trouble. People only worry about what's to them. And like, you know, but it is what it is. But, you know, like when you done the prize fighter, you know the rules. If you got a stoppage, the extra money was there. There was no like, "Oh, we're not doing that today." And that's why Matchroom's at the top of their game, because they're businessmen, but they do it right. And, you know, if they say you're getting £1, you're getting £1. You know what I mean? Simple as that.
So how damaging is that for the guys who were involved in the situations that like we just talked about, in terms of their motivation towards boxing? Is it in the back of their minds that they may find themselves in this situation again down the line, especially if they're full-time and trying to provide for their families? £1,500, people assume boxers are on very big money, but as we both know, for some guys it isn't. 1,500 quid is a lot of money itself.
Well, we was lucky in both situations. Our guys won the whole competition. So you kind of like, well, something was sketchy. It was never actually announced officially that it was this much. So it was announced there was a bonus, but you didn't know what, and we won the whole thing. If we'd have been earning like $2,000 and they scored a knockout and they thought it might have doubled their money or 50% extra, they might have been like, what the... So we was kind of looking in the British title one, like I say, it was a kind of a fuck-up on the people who contacted me's behalf, but they was kind of like, there's nothing I can do. So I took the brunt of it, because I thought, well, you know what, if I take this much less, the boxer ain't really going to notice, you know. I'd done a deal with them for the board tax, and I said, well, you've got to, you know. So we kind of squeezed around, so the boxer didn't notice in that one. I noticed, but I was like, what do we do? It's kind of been put on me. What do we do? Do we not fight? We're on a ticket deal. I don't care if we fight, you know. So but the other one, we won both the competitions, so we didn't notice it as much as some. But again, I don't think there's any skullduggery or what's it. I just think it's a mistake, but the mistake rolls downhill. Mistakes happen in every business. It's just like I say in boxing, when you're getting punched in the face, you feel it a bit more. You feel that, you know. I've had guys come up to me because when I text them for a fight, I give them extra 50 quid on the expenses. And then I forgot, and when I said to the promoter, I says, oh, and I give them normal, and they chase me around with it. I'm like, sorry, yeah, not my mistake, I'll get it for you. But they're on your case, you know what I mean? They're like, you know, well, that's how it is. People fight for the money, they want what they're promised.
So just trying to think back then, what's been your worst case that you can remember where a fight has been done over by not receiving their fair share of the money, or what had been agreed? Anything worse than the two situations that you've just mentioned?
Do you know what? Sometimes you have to wait for your money. But again, it's business. And when you look, usually it's legal that they're making you wait, just that nobody else does. Usually they have got that 2 weeks. But no, I heard about one in Ireland that I was nothing to do with. I heard about a competition in Ireland where the guy who won it, he beat that Chris Blaney in the final. No, he beat Jack Cullen in the final, I think. And I heard he just didn't get paid. And there was a big fuss. And I seen some kid on Twitter who was moaning about someone saying he found out that his wages was nearly double on an Eddie Hearn show where he got stopped. But again, I've never had that because I'm quite good at making sure it's kind of... That's why I notice when there is something different, because I make sure, right, that's what it is. Whatever it is you've told us, that's fair. We've agreed to it. But I've never really had it where anyone's ripped you off, because people don't. I've heard of a couple of instances, like I say, but I wasn't involved at all, and people I would know wasn't involved. But mostly... It might be someone running late, a show's gone disastrous, they need an extra week. You know, like I know a guy had a really bad bit of luck with something down on the coast, El Siesta. And he rung me, and I had a guy on there, and probably it was within my rights to say, oh, well, I want this and I want that. And I said, look, Al, you've had the worst luck possible there. You've lost a lot of money. And don't worry about my guy. No, that was Lewis. I says, don't worry about my guy, don't worry about his wage. We'll take it as a learning curve. You don't need people chasing you for whatever when you've had this much bad luck. And he went, thank you. He says, you know, he knows that I could probably battle it and get some money, but he's had bad luck. It don't really affect us too bad. It's not like it was a world title fight. It was just a learning fight. There'll be another one in a month or so. So there is cases, but you've got to learn to go with them guys. But as for robbing people, it doesn't happen because the board don't really let it happen. Someone might be late, but you get it in the end.
Now, another guy who we spoke about previously was Idris Peugeot, someone who you manage.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you've had people try and contact him to take over, not sure what he wasn't his manager, right? I think he said agent, to become his agent. And they'd want the same percentage as what you do as a manager, but because they're agent, they want more. Just explain to me the ins and outs of how it works.
Right, the ins and outs is, and it's quite simple. You do something good on TV, people spot it and think they can earn money out of it, and suddenly they come and offer you stuff that they weren't offering when you was not known. Simple as that. Look at the guys who was there when you was earning no money, when you were doing ticket deals, who was building you up then. You know, they tried to get Idris to go off to another trainer, these guys did. And I said to his trainer, if he goes to another trainer, I'll release him because my loyalty is to you because you was there for him at the start. Idris come back, kind of learnt his lesson trainer-wise. But all these guys who do well have people, especially with social media, messaging, texting, I can do this, I can do that, I can do everything. They don't actually do anything, and then they turn around and say, where's my cut? You know, it's part of the course, but again, I don't think that's a boxing thing. I think you get it in every walk of life. When someone's famous, you get people who kind of jump on the back of that and say, what can it do for me? Without putting the work in that made them famous. You know, it's just something that, and that's why there's, but the trouble is there's people doing it without licences. When they got licences, you can kind of pull them up. Like one of the ones who approached Shaq, I says, you do know what you're doing is illegal, don't you? They was like, oh, I says, don't worry, we can still do some work, but just so you know, what you've just done is totally illegal. And they says, oh yeah, but everyone does it. I says, not everyone sends an email under their name, which I've got. And then all of a sudden they was like, oh, we're okay, ain't we? I was like, yeah, but just do it. And that's a guy with a licence, because they know the board can take their licence, take their living. If you haven't got a licence, and you just kind of, you can do what you want. That's a bit dangerous, because they promise the boxer stuff that they can't deliver. They disappear onto the next guy that's got a bit of fame. And then you're left with a boxer going, well, why can't you do what he says? Because what he said is why he left. It's not realistic. But then you've got the boxers thinking, I'm missing out on something there, and it causes friction. But if it was an easy job, everyone would do it, wouldn't they? But that's basically what it is, mate.
Idris shot to fame through his stint on Love Island. Yeah. How do you think he's coped with that? And then this kind of, I don't really want to say downfall, but when you've got the highs of the constant camera exposure from that, the hundreds of thousands of followers he would have gained over social media, to kind of becoming lesser known once more. How do you think he's coped with that and trying to build a boxing career? Well,
to be fair, if he wants to build a boxing career, just ignore that. It's nothing to do with it. And this is what I tried to tell him. When they want to put you on TV, I said, it's not a good idea. I said, because you're a new boxer who's learning. I said, you ain't bad. I said, but you're not TV level. I said, but when you're on TV, they'll be ruthless. They'll judge you as the same as guys on TV. But he wanted to go for it, so okay, we'll go for it. He had a performance that weren't great. The newspapers slated him. National newspapers that wouldn't have even known he was boxing any other time while he was developing, they slated him. And I says, well, if you want to take them risks, you've got to have thick skin. But trying to build your boxing career off your social media following is not a great idea, because your social media following is not going to punch anyone. Your social media following is not going to block a punch. So when you're in there, 100,000 followers does not stop a right hand smashing you in the face. You know, 10,000 followers on Twitter does not stop you getting tired. So building your boxing career is totally different to your social media thing. And if you try and combine them, you're going to come unstuck. It's as simple as that. Build your boxing career, and if a social media following comes alongside it and brings benefits, great. Do not try and build a boxing career that matches the social media career. It will not work. You know, and I told Idris that, you know, let's use what it's bringing, but not try and base it round it. And he got a cut in his last one, didn't get the decision, it was a technical draw. And I think he's going on one of the next Villa shows, because he's realised I can still do my social media stuff and be out there. He's just done a reality show in America, but trying to put my boxing up to the level that my social media following at is not going to work. But again, that's just having the experience, not to do it and not to run before you can walk, basically.
Now, another boxer who's on this series is Tommy Fury. Considering everything that you've just said, Tommy Fury, the brother of Tyson Fury, the lineal heavyweight champion, how do you think he's going to have to try and deal with it? Because you can only imagine there's going to be 10 times as much pressure on him than what Idris was faced when he left. I'll
be honest with Tommy Fury, because Idris wasn't on the show for long, he didn't get the chance. Tommy Fury, I think he's going to be a reality TV star. I think boxing's the last of his worries. Because unless you're at Tyson and AJ's level, you're never going to earn even a fraction of what you can earn from endorsements and stuff. He's come across as a really nice guy. He's doing well a lot. I don't watch it. I've never watched an episode, but you know, you read the commentary. And if he comes across as well as he is, I think he's going to have a big future without boxing. Like I said about Anthony Ogogo, boxing's done. Enjoy being someone else. Have a bigger career in someone else. I think boxing's going to be the last of Tommy Fury's worries. He might do as a bit of fun, as like a one-off, in between shows, because I think that guy's going to go onto a different platform. Boxing's very tough, and you've got to be totally dedicated. When you've got TV companies throwing money at you, you've got models wanting to date you, when you've got people wanting to pay to fly you to places, is he going to get up and go running? If he does, fair play to him, because I wouldn't. Then again, I probably wouldn't win Love Island either, so it's a moot point. But no, I think Tommy Fury ain't got to worry about that, because I think he's going big. Whereas Idris had a little go of it, had a taste of it, but he still wants to make something as a boxer because he didn't like burst through the roof like Tommy has. So Idris has got to balance it, whereas Tommy, I think Tommy's made a new career for himself that's going to be very lucrative, and fair play to him, because from what I've heard, he's come across as a nice guy, which is good.
We see Jon Pegg in Love Island 2020.
I'd probably get divorced. I'd probably win it, you know. It's not all about looks and muscles, but I don't know. Perhaps they'll do like a washed-up Love Island. I don't know, like a load of people just being washed up on the beach and they're fucked and out of shape. Yeah, that'd suit me. I'd do all right there. Although I don't think I'd want to survive on an island like that other reality show. So no, I think you'll just see Jon Pegg talking about boxing, doing boxing, and that's it. But, you know, if there's a lot of money in it, get me involved.
Well, Jon Pegg, I appreciate your time. I've kept you for long enough, so before I let you go, anything you want to end on?
Just something that's really come home to me recently. Like Sam, at 25, he's looking to push his career in a new direction. And, you know, you got a lot of his sponsors have kind of says, oh, well, we're all done, which is fair enough. They've given him loads of support. And we've had some new guys come on board. And sometimes, don't just look at someone losing top of the bill on a Sky TV show. Give them a chance and look at what they're doing, because the guys who've come on board have literally made it possible for him to be able to move forward and do this. And everybody needs support, from the guys needing a medical pay who's starting to the guy. In fact, the guys who are right at the top of the level probably need less support because they're earning good money. So you guys out there support everyone on every part of the journey, because they all need it. And if you want to see boxers doing as good as they can, they really need that support. And so we appreciate the ones who have come on board and have left, you know, to maybe go on a new venture. Fair play, that it's their money, they can do what they want. But the guys who are coming on board when there's a bit of uncertainty, fair play, you're really helping.
Well, Jon Pegg, as always, I appreciate your time. So thanks for being to Boxing Social.
Thanks, Andy. It's always good to talk.